50 Cent has been working on this documentary for almost 2 years. The footage he has is insane. The people he got speaking about Diddy is ridiculous. And on top of that, the only place he agrees to do the interview, Rob, if you can show this, he goes and interviews with ABC. And there's an Instagram post he put up, Rob. I don't know if you have that or not. If you go on his Instagram account, he goes and does the interview about Diddy's documentary on ABC.
We have to talk about Tupac, which I wasn't committed to, but then I watched the doc. So
didn't know you were getting that.
You have a lot of people saying stuff in there that makes it sound like maybe he was responsible for that murder. Which has never been proven. That's a very serious thing.
But you have Keefe D over in Vegas now, getting ready to go on trial for that case, saying those things.
Who shot Tupac? I already know who shot. I believe in karma. I believe in all of that.
We are here today to announce the arrest of Keefe D for the murder of Tupac Shakur.
Burn, motherfucker, you deserve to die. Talking about you getting money, but it's funny to me. All you niggas living bummy while you fucking with me.
Right after I heard Tupac got shot, and I was so weak, I damn near fell over. I immediately flew to Vegas, and I walked in the room, and I seen him laid out on the bed with all kind of tools in him. And his mom came over to me, and she grabbed me, she held me up, and she said, "Baby, you got to be strong." And I went and sat next to him and whispering to him, telling him I loved him and to hold on, and he was going to be okay. And even in that moment, his mom was thinking more about me than herself and showing me how to love strong.
Nothing here to care about.
I told you can't trust these. Now, Puffy don't keep Tupac, man.
50 Cent went on stage last year and said this.
Maybe I said because he got Tupac.
You know, and I know, that everyone believes that Diddy was involved in both these shootings and had a direct involvement in your brother's death. That is what the streets have said for 27 years. That's why 50 Cent said it. That's why Eminem has said similar stuff. Would you be comfortable saying that you believe Diddy had nothing to do with it?
No, I wouldn't be comfortable saying that because I don't know. If you look at all the theories, the theory involving him is quite high on the list.
Ron, any comments? Any comments on the trial so far? Any opening statements?
He's having his day.
He's having his day?
He's having his day. We trust the justice system.
Thank you, sir.
God is good.
Tupac Shakur's life and tragic demise are boldly and thoroughly examined in Netflix's most recent documentary series, focusing on the ongoing discussions and public conjecture regarding music entrepreneur Sean Diddy Combs. Rather than by examining the conflicts, cultural dynamics, and unresolved issues of the time, rather than placing blame, the series offers viewers a more engaging and insightful look at one of hip-hop's most persistent riddles.
That claim, which we know wasn't true.
Yeah, check this out. We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brother. So we're not even going to go there, with all due respect, but I appreciate you as a journalist asking. Thank you.
Because you listen, 7 years ago, I'd have been like, yo, did you hire somebody to kill Pac? But no, you do it like a journalist.
Yeah. No, I mean, we wouldn't even get into nonsense like that. You know what I'm saying? It's nonsense.
Which we never believed, by the way.
How does it make sense that 50 Cent breaks his silence by going to the most mainstream platform possible, yet somehow the conversation immediately drifts back to Tupac? That's the contradiction people can't stop staring at. Because the more official the rollout looks, the more the old disputed theories start bubbling up again. And that's where it gets messy. 50 didn't just confirm a project and move on. He reportedly chose ABC/GMA for the promo run, and fans read that like a chess move. If you want the whole world watching, you don't whisper it on a niche podcast. You say it where even people who don't follow hip-hop will still catch the headline. But the weird part is what happens next. The moment you attach his name to a doc about Diddy, the internet doesn't just talk about today. It drags the 90s back into the room like it never left, and it starts asking the same question all over again. Why do Tupac and Biggie always get pulled into this?
We heard from the former president of Bad Boy, Kirk Burroughs, who alleged during this time, Diddy had him hiring a whole bunch of people and getting cars to drive to Las Vegas. And he is now very curious into why Diddy wanted to do this. And he said, in his opinion, he now believes that Diddy was behind taking out.
And once that door is cracked open, everything speeds up. The doc gets framed like it's not just a timeline, but a reckoning, with people claiming it connects dots across decades. Allegations, counter-allegations, old grudges, old interviews, old whispers that never fully disappeared. And to be clear, a lot of this stuff is disputed, and plenty of it has never been proven in court, but documentaries don't run on courtroom standards, they run on momentum. And momentum is exactly what brings the most controversial rumor back to the surface. The one that's been repeated so many times, it almost sounds like a fact to some people, even though it isn't confirmed.
Puff took Tupac blueprint and changed Big and Bad Boy in image. I get around, talked about how fly you was, how many girls you mess with, how many cars you drive, how much money you got, what you willing to do. He took his image. Pac was the first one on the scene wearing Versace shirts. He went and got the same Versace shirts Pac had. Which, all right, some dudes would do that. You would never catch me wearing something else, something that somebody else got. He was knocking down all the women that he thought Pac was knocking down. And what I mean is having sex with them. Why would you want to have sex with women you know for sure a dude that was once cool with you was dealing?
You've heard the version everyone debates. The reported claim that there was talk of a huge payout, numbers like 1 million, connected to taking out Tupac and Suge. It's the kind of allegation that sticks because it's specific, it's dramatic, and it feels like it explains too much in one sentence. But it's still a claim, not a conviction, and that difference matters. Still, once someone says it out loud, people start scanning everything else through that lens. And then the story pivots into the name that keeps reappearing whenever Tupac's case gets discussed. And here's the part people miss. It's not because the internet is obsessed. It's because the legal timeline keeps giving the public new reasons to talk.
I'm saying that you want to see how serious the Vegas PD is going to take this case. Because Keefe D is people that he name dropped that you want to see if they're going to investigate.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I'm curious to see how they plan to deal with the case, because he, in his own admissions, mentions other people. You know, are they going to say what happened to these people? Yes, Puffy being one of them. I don't know where that's going to lead, but I do believe there were accomplices. And I don't think all of them have been looked at. So, you know, because over the years, you know, it's a lot of years, you know, amongst the family, we talk, we want to figure it out too. We thinking certain things too. So, you know, we're waiting to see if we can trust this process. I feel like it's bigger because I haven't heard anything about that part of the story from the prosecutor's office. I haven't heard anything about Puffy from the prosecutor's office, even though Keefe D implicates him on these videos that they claim they're using to indict him. Even you got a Crip affiliate from somewhere, but you still not going to talk about the guy that he mentions by name on the thing. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's exhausting. You know, or, you know, I'm waiting to see how far they go, because that's what everybody's talking about. That's what everybody's talking about. What about Puffy? You know, so it would be weird that the prosecutor's office wouldn't know and address it. That's why I don't know whether to trust this shit or not.
The Keefe D factor is the closest thing the public has to a moving clock on this case. Trial delays, filings, updates, every shift reignites debates because people immediately ask who gets mentioned and who doesn't. And that frustration becomes its own storyline. Names said in interviews, names tossed around in old conversations, but then silence when it comes to what gets formally addressed. None of that proves anything by itself, but it absolutely shapes how people interpret what they're hearing. And just when you think the discussion is stuck in the Vegas era, it snaps back to an earlier moment, one that, according to many, changed everything about how these relationships felt behind the scenes.
Condition, because you got so many conflicting stories, right? You got some people that say that, Tupac was moving in the hospital, he was, talking in the hospital, but you being there from your point of view, how was Tupac condition?
By the time I got there, remember I was coming from LA. So by the time I got there, he had tubes in his throat, in his nose, in his mouth. So he ain't talk to me, not verbally. He was conscious. He was trying to talk. He did want to talk, but he didn't actually verbalize any words. I always, that's one of my, going to be one of the biggest mysteries in my life because he was trying to tell me something. He was trying so hard. He was shaking the bed. He was looking at me, with his big old eyes, and I know he was trying to tell me something, but I don't know.
Something else I want to ask you, because I think it would be appropriate before we get off the Vegas thing, last thing, because I know I did an interview with Napoleon, and they all gave me their reasons why Afeni pulled the plug because of his condition, but I mean, it would be more appropriate since you was his brother. Afeni, her decision to pull the plug on him, from your point of view, what made her pull the plug? Respectfully.
Because he had already flatlined a couple of times. And she didn't want him to keep going through that. I think it was like twice before she, let him go. And that's reasonable. You know what I mean? When I was, when I found out,
Because for a lot of fans, the real fracture point wasn't 1996. It was 1994, Quad Studios. That night sits at the center of the paranoia, the betrayal narratives, the you knew accusations, and the long-running idea that the industry side and the street side were bleeding into each other. People argue about who was present, who knew what, who benefited, who got blamed, and why the story morphed over time. And then, years later, another layer gets added when Dexter Isaac reportedly claimed he took part in that attack and alleged he was hired by Jimmy Henchman Rosemond. That claim has been reported, debated, and denied in different ways, but once it entered the public conversation, it didn't just add detail, it added a new reason for people to say, this was bigger than we were told. And that's when the narrative gets even more complicated, because denials become part of the plot too. Now you've got competing accounts stacked on top of each other. One side says certain things are nonsense and not even worth entertaining. Another side says the environment was so tense that it's impossible to believe nobody knew anything. And somewhere in the middle are the fans trying to separate what's emotional, what's exaggerated, what's performative, and what's actually supported by evidence. And in the middle of all that, you get moments that feel like they shouldn't matter, but they do. Like a lyric. Because the internet doesn't treat music like art anymore. It treats it like testimony.
Quad Studios?
Well, I don't think I'm not going to say he knew exactly he was going to get robbed, but he knew he was going to get dealt with. Because he was up there with Andre Harrell and he was with Jimmy Henchman. And even though I think Pac may have owed Jimmy some money or he was being disrespectful with Jimmy, and Jimmy ain't the type of dude that you was going to be disrespectful for because he had some real wolves. And Jimmy was about it himself. You know what I mean? So now, in that essence, Puff is up there in the office with him. They know they about to deal with Pac, you know what I'm saying? I don't know the extent that Jimmy told him what they was going to do to Pac or he's going to get dealt with or whatever like that. But I know Puff had a whiff of what was going on.
That's why Eminem's Kill Shot line keeps resurfacing. Not because it proves anything, it doesn't. It's a lyric, and it's been treated as trolling by plenty of people. But once a new documentary wave hits, old bars start sounding different to listeners. People replay them like they're decoding a hidden message, and the comments turn into a jury box overnight. Then Diddy's historical denials get brought up again, and suddenly the entire conversation becomes this tug of war between what's alleged, what's denied, and what the public already decided to believe years ago. And that's where this story becomes less about one person talking and more about why people are ready to hear certain narratives right now.
You know that he had another bracelet that was like a bicycle chain with charms on it, right? Just gonna say that, all right? He had the diamond chain on with the chain with diamonds at each length going through it, right? He had a big stone on the diamond ring and a smaller stone, one for $35,000 and the one for $20,000, all right? So even Stretch that did this shit, I took his bracelet too, yeah, and changed it and put his name, my man's name on it, and took off the name on it. So motherfuckers claiming that this even
so hold on, homie.
Claim that he was Tupac's stepdaddy, wrote me and wanted me to have my people meet him and give him back the chain and shit, talk about some redemption shit. You know, them niggas ain't had it, man.
So hold on, hey Dex. So that day that happened, November 30th, 1994, it wasn't just Tupac and Freddie Nichols. Stretch was with them too?
Stretch was with them too, yeah. Stretch set the whole shit up. He was in cahoots. He was giving us play-by-play where they was at. On their way there, he was in communication with Jimmy and shit. You know, Jimmy promised them two big eggs and shit.
Wow, so he sold Pac out for a quarter brick, basically.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
And
Killboy too.
Wow. Yeah.
Because the present-day legal storm around Diddy changes how audiences process everything. When headlines are heavy and allegations are everywhere, people stop separating eras. They start treating the past like a prequel to the present. That doesn't make the old theories true, but it does make them louder. And if a high-profile docuseries is positioned as revealing or exposing, viewers will automatically assume it contains something the public wasn't supposed to see, even when it's actually built on interviews, disputed claims, and interpretation. That's the power and the danger of this format. It can spotlight real questions, but it can also turn suspicion into certainty in people's minds, even when the record is still contested.
I remember the first time I went to your office, there was a big frame picture, photograph on one of your walls, and it had Tupac on it wearing a Henchman Entertainment t-shirt. Now, a few years ago, there was a guy named Dexter Isaac that came forward who claimed that you were connected to the Tupac shooting. Do you have anything to say about that?
No, 100%. I've never ducked from answering any Tupac questions, which I could understand if I don't know how Quad Studio morphed into, like I was in Vegas and was part of the shooters that actually ended in his demise. And let me say, me and Tupac were friends. And me and him were friends. I had nothing against Tupac. I liked him. He was younger than me. I'm sure that he looked up to me. There's many moments that me and Pac had that were very intimate, where he talked to me about things that he was afraid of or things that he loved to do, and all of those kind of things. Here it is, you have a prosecutor and you have a guy who's in jail for life. When they pulled Dexter down to interview him in regards to what he knew about me and Tupac and so on and so forth, I have no doubt at this point that Dexter probably was the guy or one of the assailants on Tupac. But Dexter's story just doesn't make sense. Dexter tells a story that I wanted a ring for my fiance, and so I tell him to get the diamond ring from Tupac so I can give it to my fiance, and so on and so forth. He tells this magical story. The only person can believe such a story is Todd Kaminsky, who was the prosecutor who was trying to make something out of nothing.
So zoom out and look at what's actually happening. 50 Cent steps into the spotlight with a doc connected to Diddy using mainstream media to amplify it. The internet instantly drags Tupac and Biggie into the conversation. Old alleged stories like the reported million talk get recycled. Keefe D's ongoing case keeps the public feeling like something is still unfolding. Quad Studios gets relitigated like it happened yesterday. Lyrics get treated like coded confessions. And through it all, the same line keeps dividing everyone. What's confirmed versus what's claimed. And that leaves one question that never really gets answered, only repeated in different forms. Are people finally getting closer to the truth? Or are we watching the loudest version of the story win because it's the easiest one to believe? What do you think is actually driving this renewed obsession? New information or old narratives being repackaged at the perfect moment?
Just to make it clear, man, when Puffy came to LA, you used to give him protection, right? From the Southside Crips because he was scared of Suge Knight?
It speaks for itself, my brother. He was playing chess, and I guess we was playing checkers, cuz.
So he was really scared of Suge Knight like that, yo?
That's what it looked. That's what it sounded like. Yeah. Yeah.